Hello, everybody, and good morning, and welcome yet another time to an eMarketeer Academy webinar. Thank you for joining today. We've got some new cool stuff that I look forward to showing you that I hope that you can utilize in your eMarketeer account and to make your results from your marketing really visible and easy to track. That's what we're going for, at least. We have a lot of people joining us today, so I will get going from the start as I normally do. A lot of people will be joining us in the next few minutes for sure. I think there is quite a lot of excitement about the new features that we're releasing now, judging on the number of people who've signed up. So it's really cool. Let's dive in right away on today's topic, which is the campaign reports that we've just released for eMarketeer. And we'll be going through how to set up the reports, and I've got a couple of examples, example campaigns that we will look at and see what kind of different charts and dials and ways to visualize the progress and performance of these campaigns. These are just for your inspiration. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of different use cases, and you're going to think of ideas and come up with ways that I've never even thought about. So, and that's the whole objective, is just to get some inspiration here today. My name is Klaus. I think I've met a lot of you guys before, but for those of you who don't know me, I've been with eMarketeer for more than 10 years. I've been working with product marketing and heading the marketing team. Now I'm kind of focusing more on what we call product evangelism, which is really all about getting inspiration, motivation about our product out there, both to customers and partners. To understand what eMarketeer is all about. So that's really my key focus. And well, that's the webinars is a great way to go about that. We are going to be approximately 45 minutes to an hour on the webinar today, depending on how many questions you guys have. Please do go ahead and send me your questions in the questions box on your left or right hand side of your screen. There should be a GoToWebinar control panel. There should be a question box. You can type in your questions there, and I will try to pick them up during the webinar, or at least get back to the questions in the Q&A session at the end. So do feel free to send me your questions. Also, if you have ideas or inspiration for the rest of the crowd here, do send me that through the questions box as well, because it's just interesting for everybody to be kind of inspired and have ideas pop up over there. So do let me know if you have something on your mind. Do know that other people can't see what you're asking, so don't be shy. There's and I won't call you. I may call you out by your first name, but there is really no reason to be shy here at all. So just send me the questions my way. As mentioned, the objectives today are pretty simple: to introduce the new campaign reports in eMarketeer, to see a couple of example campaigns with some ways to use the campaign reports. So to really just set them up and see how they work. That is what we're going to cover today, so to get an understanding. You may know eMarketeer already as a marketing automation platform. We've got lots of tools and features to help you organize, design, plan, and execute and measure your marketing campaigns across many different channels. And normally down here, we've got the marketing dashboards, the return on marketing investment reports, and the marketing automation that kind of ties everything together in eMarketeer. So what you do in all of your different channels and all of your different campaigns there can be measured and visualized there. So, but what we're bringing to the table today is something new. It is something that is focusing on the reports for campaigns, right? So different campaigns have different objectives, right? Some campaigns are focusing on generating leads. Some campaigns are focusing on growing your email list. Some campaigns are focusing on getting people to join a webinar or an event. So no two campaigns are alike, and therefore we believe campaigns should have their own reporting capabilities. And that's what we're bringing to the table now, introducing those features. So as mentioned, we're going to look at 3 different examples today. That are kind of typical for a lot of our customers and users that I think you will find yourself familiar with, or at least you can relate and get some ideas on how this could work on your end with the projects that you're doing. If you've got ideas for campaigns that I haven't thought about today, do send me them in the questions box. I may cover them in the Q&A, or at least we'll have a chance to ponder on them and then get you some feedback via email later on. The 3 examples today are going to be event marketing reporting. They're going to be lead generation reporting, and lead nurture reporting. So those are the 3 areas that we're going to cover today. But as mentioned, I'm sure you can drag a lot of inspiration from these to your own campaigns. All right, let's dive right into it. The first example is event marketing reporting. And I've visualized a little event flow here. It's very basic, but obviously you can add a lot more steps to an event. Basically, you have your invitation, you have your registration, maybe you have some follow-up emails that automatically go out when people have signed up, and you may have reminders and so on. And then in this case, we also have an on-site check-in. So that means that when people are coming onto our event, we actually keep tabs on who's there by scanning their barcodes on their tickets or registering them in some way. And obviously, this is all nice, and you can organize all of this and automate all of this in eMarketeer. But what the campaign reporting offers is an opportunity to kind of focus on specific measuring points that are important to you. And in this case, I've focused on 3 that I think would be interesting to know. The first one is, how is my invitation performing? You know, is it converting people to look at the registration page or the landing page? I also want to focus on the registration, of course. Am I getting the number of registrants that I would like for this campaign? And then lastly, I'm looking at the on-site check-in. Are people actually showing up? You know, are attendees to no-show ratios okay? So those are kind of the 3 measuring points that I want to look at: the invitation performance, number of people joining, and number of people showing up. So I will use all of our 3 new reporting widgets to monitor this campaign. So that's the flow that we're going to look at. And the 3 new reporting widgets we have available are the funnel chart, the goal gauge, and the KPI counter. And we're going to look at each of these ones in particular. We're going to start with the funnel chart. The funnel chart is great for tracking conversions across different steps in your process. So in this case, for instance, an invitation, how are people going from my invitation to my registration to my confirmation, for instance? If it was a lead nurture campaign, I can see how many people drop off in the different steps of the funnel or of the nurture journey that I've designed. So the funnel is great for tracking a group and see how that group kind of trickles down my funnel and how many people pop out at the end there. So that's the first one we're going to look at. So let me get into eMarketeer, and I've got 3. It's kind of being a TV chef here. I've kind of pre-cooked 3 campaigns that we're going to look at, and we're going to start with the event campaign here. So let's jump into that one. And as mentioned, this event is a pretty simple one. I've got an invitation, I've got a registration, and I've got an on-site check-in. These are the 3 things that I want to measure on, but obviously I could have a lot more bells and whistles here with confirmations and reminders and SMSs and all the good stuff you know about from eMarketeer. But these are just the 3 that I want to use for reporting on. So as you've probably seen, if you've been into eMarketeer recently, you've seen the add campaign reporting button up there, and that is where the magic happens with regards to tracking performance on your campaigns here. So I'm going to click the add campaign reporting, and I see the 3 widgets we have available, as mentioned: the funnel, the goal gauge, and the KPI counter. Let's focus on the funnel chart first. So I'm just going to click that, and I get an empty chart where I can start adding events. And these are the events that I want to report on in the chart and understand the conversion of in the flow. So as you can see, I've got some drop downs here, and they basically contain the first one there, all of the components that I have in the campaign. So you remember the invitation, the registration, and the on-site check-in. These were the 3 items I have. As I add more items to the campaign, I will see more components in the drop list, obviously. I'm going to choose the invitation first, and then I get to choose what I want to track on the invitation: how many people it was sent to, delivered to, how many opened it, and how many clicked it. I'm going to choose delivered, and that is my first chart bar. I'm going to click add, and as you'll see, the first bar goes onto the chart, measuring how many people actually got the email. Then the next event, I'm also going to look at the invitation, and I'm going to look at how many people actually clicked from my email onto my registration page, right? Was the email content interesting enough? Was I enticing them to go into my registration page or landing page to see what was going on there? And as I add that event, you can see now I went from 20 to 17. So 20 people got the email, 17 clicked, and I can already see the conversion rate between these two steps is 85%. So all of these things are automatically added to the chart for me to analyze. All right, so now they've got the invitation, they've clicked the email onto my registration page. So I want to have a look at the registration and see how many people actually submitted the registration. So that one goes on there. And then lastly, I want to see the on-site check-in, how many submitted that. Remember, that is the check-in we do at the event to make sure that people were there. And voila, I now have a funnel of my event process. So I have the number of emails delivered, the conversion rate of the delivered emails to the people who clicked the email onto the registration page. They went onto the registration page and actually submitted the form, and I can also see the conversion rate there. And finally, I have the people who showed up at the event and the conversion rate there. Underneath, I have the conversion rates in each step, as well as the total conversion rate from the very first step to the very last step, right? So 60% of my participants here, or my invitees, actually attended the event. Now that's a great overview, and I can build this overview or this campaign even before I start sending out invitations and taking registrations and so on, and this chart will just update automatically as people start signing on. Now there's a couple of things to note here, and that is for somebody to be visualized in the different steps of the funnel, they need to be part of the previous step, right? So I'm sending the invitation to 20 people, and now the chart only looks at those 20 people. Who of them have signed up or have clicked in this case? So if I move to this step, 17 have clicked, 14 have registered. If I drive traffic to this form from ads or other sources not being in this step, they will not be counted in the chart. That's the nature of the funnel. In order to be in the step, you need to also be in the previous step. So this is kind of your gross list. And as you trickle down, everybody here would need to be part of the gross list there at the start. I hope that makes sense. So as I click done, the campaign report is added to my campaign, and I constantly have an overview of the things that are going on there. Here are already some comments. Here's Kira saying, this is perfect for welcome flows. You're absolutely right, Kira. Thanks for that positive feedback. This is great for welcome flows. This is great for new lead registrations. Let's say you sign up for a product trial and you have kind of 4 steps you really need these people to go through in an email series. You can keep track of those 4 steps right there. So thanks for seeing that. Let's see, here's a question from Meta. It would be very useful to have the option of having the initial source being multiple sources if there are several emails that promote the same thing. Agree there, Meta. That is definitely something that we will look at. I will come back to the future developments in the campaign reporting, but that's a good pointer right there, Meta, to have the ability to drive multiple traffic sources into the funnel here. Thanks for that comment. Keep them coming. Now, as I have my report here, it's not just there as a pretty face. I can actually use it for different things. As you can see, when I mouse over, I can click the different chart components. So if I want to see the people who've actually submitted the form, I can just click that part of the chart, and a selection pops up with the 14 people that did that specific step. So here I have all of the people, the Amanda, Rogers, and Cynthia's that did this specific step. The form submitted, here are the contacts for that event, and I can obviously click in to look at their contact card and their timelines and so on. I can also click on the negative part, if you will, on the top part of the chart here, and obviously those are the people, the 3 people that did not yet submit the form. So they clicked the email, but they didn't submit the form, right? So that's why you see kind of that solid color and that kind of transparent color up there. That is the total from the previous step, the 17 are the total of the 3 and the 14 here together, so I can always see the drop-off list there as well. Also worth noting is I can mouse over the titles down here. Invitation is obviously the invitation mail. Invitation here, same mail, it's measuring 2 different things, and then the registration form. I can click these to go right into the reports for those components. So if I wanted to see how the email was performing, I can click in and see the email report and see who clicked, who bounced, and who did the different things in the email. So I always have the component reports handy right from the chart up there. Okay, let's see. Let us add some more dials to this reporting, because right now this chart looks great, but I can garnish with some more details. So I'm going to click open, and then I'm going to size it down a little bit. As it has the report canvas, if you will, has 4 squares. I'm going to resize this down to 2. It still looks nice. What did I do there? I said size 2 and done. There we go. Now it is resized a little bit, and I have some more widget room, wiggle room available over there. So let's go ahead and add the next piece, which is going to be a goal gauge. And the goal gauge is great for counting progress towards my goal, well, hence the name. So you can always see how am I stacking up to the ambition that I set, and how far am I from reaching that goal. So let's go ahead and add a goal gauge. And like I did before, I get to choose the event to report on. I'm gonna report on the number of registrants, people who have said, I want to go to your event. I get to put in a target. I'm going to say, well, I invited 20. My target is going to be 18. I'm pretty ambitious right there. And I'm going to click add. And then it adds a goal gauge to my report. I can change the caption if I want to. So I like registered guests. And I can change the color if I want. Update the chart. See how that looks? Yeah. Registered guests, I'm 14. There's my goal of 18, and I can see my target, and I can see my progress is 78% of the target. That is nice. I'm going to add that. Now that sits in my report as well. Okay, I've got one more slot there available, so why not go ahead and add the last one, which is going to be the KPI counter. KPI counter is much like the goal gauge, but here I don't have to set a target. It just simply counts how many events have happened within the thing that I'm focusing on. Good for looking at a target, number of registrants, number of new signups, or number of leads generated. Just a solid number there to keep your focus on. So in this case, I'm going to add the KPI counter, and I'm going to look at how many people actually checked in at the event. So they actually joined physically at the event, whenever we can go ahead and do that again after this whole Corona situation. It grabs the title from the form, on-site check-in. I think that's a pretty nice title, so I'm gonna leave that be, and I'm gonna click done, and there we are. So now I have my funnel, I have my goal gauge, and I have my on-site check-in KPI counter there. So that's a sweet report for this event that pretty much covers what I want to see. You could obviously argue that, well, this number is already over here, but the whole idea about the campaign reports is that you really get the opportunity to slice out a piece of key information that you want to keep focus on, and you can do that with these widgets there. I'm going to grab some questions here. Here's a question from Eva. If you copy a campaign, does the setup of campaign report follow, or do you need to set it up every time? Good input, Eva. Right now, it actually does not follow your copy, so you will have a blank canvas when you copy the whole campaign. Obviously, all of the components, the links and the automations will follow, but the reports itself won't follow with your copy. But I think that's a good feedback that I'll give to the product team to investigate that. This is a question from Helena. What is the difference between the report and the things you're showing now? Not quite sure what you mean there, Helena. So please go ahead and elaborate if you think I get this wrong. But the difference between the report and what I'm showing now, the reports you're talking about may be the reports that I get on the individual components, and you can argue that it's not different in the sense that it measures the same things, but it saves me a lot of mouse clicks. For instance, I can see how many mails was delivered. I can also see that down here. You know, it says, let me zoom in here, it says send 20, so I got that number down there that I also got up here. But mail clicked, I can't see that anywhere unless I go into the report and see how many people actually clicked that specific link, 17 people. So you can argue I have the same information in the reports, but it's just hidden behind a few clicks. What the campaign reports allow me to do is really pull the information that's important to me right to the center of my screen without having to go into different components to see what has been going on. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that that was what you're asked. Isn't it just the same that you have in the component reports? Yes, in a way, but here I'm bringing it all together. Plus, I'm adding some new bells and whistles with the KPI counters, goal gauges, and also the funnel view here is quite nice for a lot of scenarios. So Helena, I hope that that covered or answered your question, but otherwise keep me honest and get back to me with a little more elaboration on that. So that is the first example of the 3 different charts here, the funnel, the goal gauge, and the KPI counter, and how they can organize your insights for an event. Let's look at the next example here, which is lead generation reporting. I guess that's a fancy talk for signups on your websites, downloads of your brochures, signups to webinars, or whatever it is that you have, for instance, in your website or on a landing page where you would like to get contact information or permissions from your visitors. So in this case, I have my website, and there I have embedded a form where people can sign up for an ebook or a white paper or 10 best tips to whatever it is that you're talking about. And then I have a follow-up email where they can click to schedule a meeting to discuss with one of our consultants. And here, of course, there are a few things that I would like to measure. I want to keep track of how many signups I get there on the ebook, and I want to make and I also want to see how many meeting requests are being generated there, and maybe also kind of the conversion between these. How are they performing when they are out there in the world? So I want to add some reporting to that scenario. Let's see. A couple of questions there. I'll get back to those in just a sec. So let's dive into this example, a sign up for some content that you're doing, some content marketing, and see how that translates into meeting bookings. So let's get back to my campaign and into my ebook lead generation campaign. Again, quite a simple one. I've got the form that sits on my website. When they fill in their contact details, they're offered the report or the ebook so they can browse or download it. And it's also sending a follow-up email where they can schedule a talk with one of our consultants if they want to do that. So that is the call to action in that specific email. So what do I want to know? Obviously, how many ebooks am I delivering? How many meetings am I booking? And how is the email performing with regards to getting people to click to book that meeting? So first things first, how many emails or ebooks are requested? I'm going to use the goal gauge. I'm going to use the form, submit it. My target here is 25. I'd like to see 25 leads or permissions gathered through this ebook project. And I'm going to call this ebook requests. There we go. And update that to see if that looks like something I can use. Ebook requests, form submits, target, and my progress. Okay, I'm going to save that. So now that goes on there. So that's the first thing, how many people are asking for my ebook. Then automatically the email goes out asking them to book a meeting, and I'm going to see how that email performs. So I'm going to add a funnel. In this case, it's just going to be very basic, just 2 steps. The email, how many people got it, and the next step being how many people clicked in the email. right? So I may have a great looking email, but the content is super, super boring. So they are not converting, they're not clicking from the email onto the meeting booking form. I see here in this case, it's 63% conversion. That's rather high, but let's see as more downloads start happening, more emails start sending out, how is the conversion really performing there? So now I've got the first two things in check. And then the last thing is the counter I want to add of how many meetings were actually booked in the email there. I'm going to say meetings booked. Update that, looks fine. I'm gonna click done. And there we are. So I've got my two components, the request form, the automated email with the meeting booking click, and here is the result. I can see how I'm performing to my target, how the email is performing with regards to getting people to click. If this conversion was very low, I better look at the call to action text I have there, better look at the visuals or the text I have there. Something is keeping them from not contacting us for a meeting. And then I've got tabs on how many meetings I've actually booked as a result of this campaign, or how many meeting booking requests have arrived. Let's see, here's a comment from Kira. It could be super cool if you could get a report for every email in a campaign. For instance, one who makes a total opening rate and the like for each campaign. Well, you can do it in the email web monitor, but if you can have several different newsletters, it could be nice to have it on one individual campaign. So what I'm getting from your question or your feedback, and thanks for that, Kira, is really if you have a lot of emails in your campaign, you kind of want to have an overview of all the different emails and see, okay, my average open rate and average click rates are this, and what are my top performing emails in this campaign, looking at open rates and click rates, for instance. So it's kind of a top 10 of your emails compared to the average of the emails in your campaign. Is that kind of where you're going, Kira? Because I think that's a wonderful idea to just add that component and maybe even choose the emails that you would like to monitor, or maybe just monitor all of the emails in the campaign and check their open rates and click rates compared to the average in the campaign. Because we always argue that your benchmark for your email performance should be your own data and not some American or German or Dutch or whatever survey or research that says, it's best to send on a Tuesday and your open rate should be 15% if you're in the automobile industry. It's fine, and you can kind of take your vanity metrics and compare it to those industry standards. But the most important thing is to compare your data with yourself, with your own performance, to see if you can improve your click rates month on month, instead of looking at an arbitrary number from some American research. That's my pet peeve anyway. So thanks for that feedback, Kira. Great insights there. Let's see. Some question here about dashboard reporting. Here's a question from Mette. Will you be adding options of reporting across campaigns? If you can pick components from different campaigns, that's not on the table right now, Mette, as far as I know. We're looking at whether we can bring some of these widgets onto the home dashboard in eMarketeer as well. If you've got some really important widgets or campaigns running, we want to bring those widgets all the way to the front of the home page. But cross-campaign reporting is a great feedback, Mette. We're gonna bring that back to the product team. Okay, great. A lot of comments are coming in, a lot of great feedback. I can see that some of you have already been tinkering with the reports, obviously, and you have some feedback for us, and it is very, very crucial. We are in no way done developing on the campaign reports, and your feedback here is pretty crucial for us moving forward. So thank you so much for that. Okay, moving on to the last scenario here. We've covered the lead gen here, the permission generation campaign. I'm tracking how many ebook downloads, how my delivery email is performing with regards to converting people to book a meeting, and how many meetings I've booked. Moving on to the last one is my lead nurture reporting. This one has a little bit more components and tracks other things that are important for me in understanding how my marketing is performing with regards to generating leads to my sales colleagues. So in this campaign, I have identified a group of people. Maybe I filtered them out in my CRM system, or I've looked at previous campaigns and I say, okay, these are really the leads that are qualified for this campaign, and I'm going to shoot them this campaign and see how it performs. So I've got some qualified leads over here in the marketing bucket, and I'm gonna send them out. Sorry. The campaign contains different products, and depending on what people do, I will send them specific follow-up on the products that they were interested in. So if they're interested in product A, I'm gonna wait a day or two, send them more information about their product, and then there I have a call to action saying book a meeting or download a brochure or whatever it is my call to action might be. And then at the end there, the idea is to book sales meetings with the people who followed through to the very last step. That may be that the contacts here, the leads themselves, can book a meeting in a form, or it may be that my salespeople try to book meetings with the people who've gone all the way through to the last step. So it may be meeting bookings from different sources there. And so that is what I want to track. And obviously, there are some different things here. I want to see how many of the leads here, the qualified leads, am I able to generate there at the start? How many am I pouring into my lead nurture process here? How many sales qualified leads? I'm going to call these the marketing qualified leads. These are the ones based on our analysis are qualified for this campaign. And over here are the sales qualified leads, because my agreement with sales is if they've gone through this journey and they have actually taken the step of looking at this brochure, they're qualified as sales qualified leads. And there at the very end, I'm going to track obviously how many booked meetings or booked test drives, as it is in this case. So that's the journey that we're looking on now. And let's find that campaign, my lead nurture campaign. There we are. So if you've been on some of my webinars, you definitely know this case. Good old Avenir car dealership. We have the campaign start email that I'm sending out to the marketing qualified leads that I've identified or pulled out from my CRM system. I've got the follow-up email on Porsche. I've got Porsche and Chevrolet over here in my email. I've got the follow-up on Chevrolet. They are sent automatically based on the activities in this email. And then finally, I've got the book test drive form there that is capturing the people that would like to book a test drive or that are called by one of the sales guys at the dealership, and they could fill out this form to register the booked test drive. So that's kind of the flow here. The start email, the 2 follow-up emails looking at what people were interested in, and the goal of getting them to book the test drive. All right, so I'm going to add a bunch of KPI counters here to see how things are going. So the first one is going to really look at how many people did I send the first email to, and that is going to be what I call my marketing qualified leads. Update there. So my MQLs are really the leads that I can identify from my marketing analysis would need to go into this campaign, and I can pour them into the email, send them, and continue to add more and more people, and I could see my marketing qualified leads would go up there. All right, then obviously I've got the 2 emails here that are being sent to the people who are interested in the different products. And as you will remember, I'll just open up one of these emails. They contain a brochure that they can click on. If they go ahead and do that, they click the call to action in this email, they are now sales qualified for Porsche and for Chevrolet. So I'm going to add 2 more KPI counters. I'm going to look at the follow-up Porsche email and look for the people who've clicked through to my CTA there. And I'm going to call that sales qualified leads for Porsche. There we go. 1 more for Chevrolet, obviously. The Chevrolet email, they click through, add that, and I'm gonna call that sales qualified leads for Chevrolet. There we are. So already now I'm seeing how many people am I pouring into this project, how many sales qualified leads for the Porsche salespersons and the Chevrolet salesperson am I generated. And obviously, this is not something that I can sit and decide what's a sales qualified lead. I need to discuss with my colleagues in sales what makes sense. What kind of lead would you like to have? And they, in this case, say, okay, if they've actually sat with the brochure there, they're a sales qualified lead. Obviously, you have to translate this into your setting, what would make sense to report on here. And then lastly, I'm going to put in a goal gauge, which is the confirmed test drive bookings. And I'm going to call it booked test drives. What's happening? My keyboard is kind of failing me here. I'm going to move to this one. -1. Oh, sorry. Maybe if I read the headline that said, what's your target? No wonder it's not allowing me to add text there. Okay, I'm going to put a number there since that kind of makes sense for a target. And then I'm going to say booked test drives for the test there. Sorry about that brain fart on my part. Okay, so I'm going to add that goal gauge at the end. And there I have a dashboard or the campaign report showing me my marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads for Porsche and Chevrolet, and how many booked test drives have this campaign generated. So that is a nice way to visualize the results from this campaign for sure. All right, so those were actually the 3 examples that I wanted to bring up with you guys today. And looking at the different widgets we have available now, the funnel, the goal gauge, and the KPI counter. But as mentioned, we are not done, and we will keep adding some more widgets to this based on your feedback and on things that we believe would be good to have. So we will definitely keep you posted on new things coming. Some of these things we're looking at are kind of the widgets you know from the home page. We're looking at some A/B testing widgets, maybe some conversion widgets. I think that email performance overall, which was really, really cool that Kira suggested. So if you have ideas there, send them to me in the questions box or just reply in the email that I'll send you just after the webinar with the recording. Let me know what kind of widgets that you would like to see, and we will look at that. Now, there's an important note here, and I don't know if that has surfaced in the questions. The widgets that report on email performance require you to be migrated to our new email service. So if you haven't done that, it's really worth a look. So if you go into building a report, you may see a warning or something like that that says, in order to report on emails, you need to migrate to the new email service. There's really no need not to. It's better, it's faster, it's safer, and your email delivery is simply better with the new email service. So it's included in your license already. So it's kind of a no-brainer. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done, and it's all described in the support articles covering that. So if you haven't looked at that or have some questions, do send them my way as well, and we would be happy to help you get migrated to the newest email service available in eMarketeer. All right, let us dive into some of the questions and feedback that you guys have. Let's see. That was a reporting across campaigns. We talked about that. Let's see. Carl asks, is it possible to monitor links clicked on your homepage? Not with the widgets here. You would probably be looking at something like the web monitor, Carl, where you can look at which pages your eMarketeer contacts have visited on your web page. So if you are not using the web monitor, I would strongly advise for that. On the dashboard, you will see a tab here called Web Monitor. Right, this is a demo database, so I don't have any website traffic tracked here. But what this thing does, when you email people from eMarketeer and they click from that email onto your website, when the web monitor is switched on, leaves a cookie on their machine. And when they return to your website from your campaigns or from adverts or Googling, your website will recognize them and they will show in the reports here. You will be able to see which persons visited which pages, how many times have they been there, how much time did they spend there. And you can also look at your pages and see which visitors were on these pages in a given time frame. So that's a pretty powerful tool, Carl, if you haven't checked that out. Those are, so in a nutshell, they're tracking the eMarketeer contacts you have in your database that you've been emailing and that's been clicking on those emails onto your website. I can't talk about Web Monitor and web tracking without mentioning Lead Explorer. If you do not know Lead Explorer, do yourself a favor and check it out. Lead Explorer monitors your website for anonymous traffic. And what is that? Anonymous traffic basically means they are visitors going to your website and leaving again without entering their contact details. So they're not submitting a contact form, they're not signing up for a newsletter, they're just browsing, right? Lead Explorer can pick up the companies, so it's a B2B tool. They can pick up the companies that are visiting your website, tell you how many times did that company visit your site, which pages did they look on, have they been here before, where are they based, can we tell you something about their size, age, industry, and so on. It's a really, really powerful sales and pre-sales tool to monitor the people that are visiting your website. Mind you, kind of like 2 to 3% of the visitors in your site actually give you their contact details. So that's a good 98% of your visitors that just leave without you knowing who they are. And Lead Explorer is a tool for that. So keep that in mind, make sure to check it out. It's free to try out. Let us see more comments here. Here's a question from Eva, or some feedback. To build on this discussion about reporting, if you have annual campaigns, can you benchmark to see how you perform on an annual basis or perhaps per quarter? Compare percentage to see how well we're doing quarter over quarter. Another great example, I think we will take some learnings from what we have on the goals reporting, Eva, which is covering all of the eMarketeer, all forms and automations. We can look at different time periods there. We can set targets and return on investment calculations on on the times periods we're looking at here, and maybe want to learn from that and use that in some of the widgets in the campaign reporting as well. That's a very good idea, Eva. But if you haven't, take a look at the goals reporting as well. You can report here on forms and on automations across your eMarketeer campaign. So that's actually cross-campaign reporting right there. I should have mentioned that before when that question came up. So I hope that, thanks for that feedback, Eva. It wasn't really an answer to you, but more an elaboration. Good feedback there. Let's see more. Here's feedback. Can we share these campaigns with our colleagues so they can be viewed on the big screen? That's also a cool idea. It's not there yet, but it's definitely feedback for the product team. We kind of have that on the goals page here. That should go full screen, so you could put that on a screen somewhere in the office. But we don't have it on the campaign reports just yet. But I think it's a very good idea to be able to share these reports. A lot of questions are coming in. I hope that this is a testament that you are interested in these features and that you're already starting to play around with that. This is just great. How do you see, here's a question from Meta again, how do you see the relative performance for the different flows in the nurture campaign? Let's see if I understand this correctly. The relative performance for the different flows in the nurture campaigns. As soon as I'm talking about something that's relative, I'm thinking funnel right away, but I may be off on a tangent there. But the funnel is great at looking at how things are going from step to step, and where, and what this powerful thing is there is it can help you identify where you should be spending your resources and your analysis on fixing things, right? So if we go back to a funnel, let's go back to the event funnel here. Now, this one looks kind of nice, and I have kind of high conversions throughout, but the funnel is genius when it comes to identifying where people drop off. So let's say you have a couple of email steps they want to go through, and maybe a landing page and a form registration. If all of a sudden the conversion rate from one step to another drops dramatically, and the others remain nice, that helps you identify, okay, I don't care that my landing page or my form could be beautified just a little bit, or I could conversion rate optimize that specific button, because my problem is really over here where leads are leaking out of my funnel. So always look to identify where your lowest conversion rates are and see if you can change those. Because if you've got 80 and 80 here, and you've got 40 here, imagine going from 40 to 50 or 60 here, and you still keep 80 over there, you are performing much, much better than going from 82 to 87 here, right? So the funnel are great to measure or identify the relative performance between your steps and figure out where that leak is in your funnel or in your process. Let's see. Keep them coming. Let's see. Eva says, it would be nice if the campaign is timed so that you can get an alert, for example, a red color to make you aware that your targets are not close to be reached. Good if you have many campaigns running, you can opt for that to happen. Love that idea, kind of a warning sign that you have set a date on this thing and you're far away from your targets. I think that's a great idea. Again, I kind of want to highlight the goals reporting a little bit, because we do have an option there to report on your target. So let's just refresh here. If you put in, if you put in your target, and once the start measures, you can see, it's difficult to see here. So in half a year, I would like to reach 20. And then this chart or this line shows me my progress towards my target. And as numbers starts coming in here, I can see if my chart of performance or realized goals are actually constantly lower than my target. Not only will I be able to visually see it, but I will also be able to see an arrow that warns me whether I am above my target or below my target. So even though that it's a year out or half a year out, this widget or this goal report will tell you if you're on track to meeting the target that you've set. So that may be another way around it, but I love the idea. Eva, thanks for that feedback. Let's see. Some of these questions are pretty technical with regards to domains and UTMs and whatnot, and I start to get a little bit weary there with regards to giving the correct answers. So I will make sure to get through back to you on emails on those specific details there. Carl, Helena, and Eva, they are a little bit too specific for me. Mona asks, any issues with GDPR here? No. The short answer is no, it all depends. The reporting here does not have anything to do with GDPR. Obviously here, I assume that whenever you have a registration form or you have a lead capture form, you do make sure to capture the permissions as well to market to the contact, right? Get the permission to store and process the data, get the permission to send marketing material. And you can use the built-in GDPR functions in eMarketeer to store and log that, so you keep tabs on that you're on the right side of the GDPR legislation, right? We've got built-in features in the forms module where you can capture consent, and on every contact in eMarketeer, you will be able to see the GDPR settings, if you will, the legal base and the consent type from your contact. So if I pull up Amanda here and I look at the legal basis tab, I can see that we have a marketing send out consent and we have a store and process consent here as well. In this case, it's from an import because it's demo data, but if you captured it in a form, it would say that it comes from the user or the contact, him or herself, and you would be able to see which form captures this consent. So absolutely, GDPR is forever present in eMarketeer, and you want to make sure that you use it correctly. But the reporting itself does not impact on your GDPR. Maybe what you're thinking about is the web tracker and web monitor. Well, again, on your website, if you use cookies, you want to make sure that you have a cookie consent mechanism going on there with regards to keeping you straight on the GDPR path there. All right, we are closing in on the hour, and it looks like the questions and feedbacks are kind of drying out. There were a lot of good feedback here, a lot of stuff for the product team to kind of look at with regards to improvements and things that you would like to see. But I also see a lot of positive feedback with you guys that have already played around with the campaign reports, and I hope that they help you focus on what's important in your campaign and visualize that in an appealing way. Keep the questions coming if you have more. I want to make sure to mention that If you've missed some of our webinars, all of our webinars are now available on eMarketeer.com/webinars. They're all available on demand. We've done a ton of kind of top of the funnel, kind of inspirational webinars on SEO, on advertising. We've looked at some Excel tips and tricks for marketeers, and obviously we've been looking at a bunch of eMarketeer functions like event management, app building, automations, and so on. So make sure to check out the webinars. As things are slowing down towards the summer vacation, you grab a cup of coffee and check out some of the webinars that you may have missed. If you have questions from the webinar, obviously it's not the same when you're looking at an on-demand webinar. It's not kind of the same question and answer. Just do send me an email or do hit us up on support@eMarketeer.com, or indeed the chat inside eMarketeer. We've got this little widget down here. Hit us up on the chat if you have questions. We're always here to help you guys out, getting more out of eMarketeer. All right. I'm gonna round off with a remark from Kira that says, I simply love this new feature. Can't wait until you get more made. Thanks. Thank you, Kira. This is exactly why we built this stuff, is to see the enthusiasm and the results that you guys are creating. So rounding off on a comment like that is simply gold. Thank you so much for that. And I know that our team and your team has some things going on this week as well that will take you even a step further, and I can't wait for that to finally come to fruition. All right, so thank you everybody for your time today. I hope to see you in some of our future webinars. Do send me your feedback on ideas for future webinars, because we're planning all of the autumn webinars. We're planning them now. So if there are things that you would like to see, let me know and we can slide that into our webinar schedule. Until then, see you and have a wonderful Thursday. I hope it's sunny wherever you guys are. Bye-bye, guys.